Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in the Scout Oath and Law. Scout is trustworthy.
On my honor, I do my best.
I do my best.
I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to
Obey
obey
the Scout law, prepare people at all times, keep myself physically strong, mentally alert, and morally straight. The Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and loyal.
You may be seated.
Scout is Reverend. Would you pray with me, please? God, we gather here today to celebrate Blake and all of his accomplishments. God, we thank you for this community, for this Scout troop, for Blake and his family and friends who have supported him and lifted him along the way. God, we praise you for the ability to know Blake, to experience him, his leadership, his joy, his smile, and God, because we know him, we know you a little bit better. God, I pray that this is a day of celebration of Blake and his accomplishments and all of your gifts for us. In your holy and precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome all of you to this Troop 266 Eagle Court of Honor for Blake Betcher. This has turned out to be a much more beautiful day than we had expected about midweek. So we can be thankful to have this celebration outdoors where a lot of scouting adventure occurs. It's good to see our scouts here, family and friends of Blake. We're going to have a few speakers, and then after that we will get a little more serious and have some words for Blake, and then we'll present him with his Eagle Award.
We now want to take you through the trail to Eagle and explain some of the many requirements along the way. We'll start with the Scout.
Next is the rank of Tenderfoot Scout. To earn this rank, you must spend at least one night on a patrol or troop camp out and sleep in a tent you have helped pitch. To demonstrate proper care in sharpening and use of a knife, saw, and axe. At each rank, you have to pass a personal growth conference and board of review.
The next rank is Second Class. To earn the rank of Second Class Scout, you must explain the principles of Leave No Trace and how you practice them on a campout. You must prepare tinder, kindling, and fuel wood for a cooking fire. Along the way, you're earning merit badges including first aid, emergency prep, and cooking, which are required for Eagle Scout.
Next rank is First Class. To earn the rank of First Class, you must demonstrate basic orienteering skills and participate in 10 troop or patrol activities. You must serve as patrol cook on a campout. You must discuss the rights of the beach citizens, identify campgrounds and native plants, and swim 100 yards.
In earning the rank of Star Scout, you must do at least 6 hours of service projects and serve at least 4 months in a troop leadership position. You must continue earning merit badges, including citizenship in the world, personal fitness, and environmental science, which are required for you.
The next rank is Life Scout. To earn this rank, you must explain how you've done your duty to God and how you've demonstrated the Scout Oath and law in your everyday life. You must teach younger scouts the skills for first aid, navigation, and cooking.
To earn the rank of Eagle, you must plan, develop, and demonstrate leadership in a service project. You must pass the board of review, which includes representatives from the High Tower District, as well as many parent leaders from Troop 266. For earning Eagle, you must complete 21 merit badges, including 14 required Eagle merit badges.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So this passage I was asked to read is called 100 Scouts. It talks a little bit about the journey that Scouts will take, represented by for every 100 Scouts. Of any 100 boys who become Scouts, it must be confessed that 30 will drop out in their first year. Perhaps this may be regarded as a failure, but later in life, all of these boys will remember that they had been Scouts, will speak well of the program, and have many memories. Of the 100, Only rarely will one ever appear before a juvenile court judge. 12 of the 100 scouts will be from families who have no religious affiliation. Through scouting, these 12 and many of their families will be brought into contact with a church, a synagogue, or a mosque, and will continue to be active all of their lives. 6 of the 100 will enter the ministry. Each of the 100 scouts will learn something from scouting. Almost all will develop hobbies that add interest throughout the rest of their lives. Many will serve in the military and in varying degrees profit from their scout training. At least one will use it to save another person's life, and many will credit with saving their own. 3 of the 100 scouts will reach the rank of Eagle, and at least one will later say that he values the Eagle badge above his college degree. Many will find their future vocation through merit badge work and scouting contacts. 17 of the 100 boys will later become scout leaders and will give leadership to thousands of additional boys. Only 1 in 4 of the scouts, only 1 in 4 boys in America will become a scout, but it is interesting to know that of the leaders in this nation in business, religion, and politics, 3 out of 4 are scouts. Today we honor 1 scout in 100. We know the things he has done in the past and imagine what he will do in his future.
I like Blake's leadership, who points to me. George, you're next. For those that don't know me, I'm George Markley, family friend of the Betchers, kind of uncle to Blake, big brother, however you want to determine it. But you know, I was honored when Blake asked me to come speak on his behalf. I knew he's been working on the Eagle Scout. I didn't grow up as a Scout, but have known enough Scout kids, have seen Eagle Scout kids, have seen people in the employment workplace who were Eagle Scouts. So I have a definite understanding and respect for what it takes to become an Eagle Scout. And I knew Blake was pursuing this, helped him out with his passion when he was gathering athletic equipment, which did a phenomenal job, and I was so proud of him to think of where those supplies would go in our communities across the country and help out teams. It is not a surprise to me that Blake has reached this level. We all know Blake, his dedication, his commitment, his energy. We all know the spirit of Blake. So I was quite honored when he called to ask me to come speak, whether he got forced into it or volunteered, but I like to believe that he asked me legitimately. But we're all happy to be here, Blake. I'm very proud of you. You know, I wanted to tell some stories about Blake, but I don't want to get him too specific and get him in too much trouble. But you guys that know Blake, just a little background, I'm an accountant and a risk manager, so my risk tolerance is pretty low. I would say Blake's is probably in that range as well. And years ago when we were in our youth, the crazy moms would let us take these kids off-site for overnight trips. Rosemary remembers this, Jennifer. And why these moms would let us do this, we don't really know, but we did. So we would take these kids on great trips overnight. And some of the ideas that would percolate within this group amongst the kids and the dads. I could remember when Blake was probably 10 years old, he and I would always catch eyes across the fire pit as they hear what's going on, and would eventually gather our thoughts and have the discussion of, these guys are insane and we have to stop this. And so we always thought along those same lines. So Blake and I have always had this phenomenal connection of thinking the right way, even at his quite young age. So that will serve you well in life, son. But just a great kid. I can, you know, I've coached sports teams with Blake. Blake always brings energy to the team, no matter how down we were or how up we were. I can always count on Blake to bring that spirit. He's just like a connector, and I am so proud of his achievement. And it's just a start. It set his continued trail of success. Outstanding work, young man. Proud of you.
So, early part of last year, our family took a trip down to Key West, and it was a place I'd always wanted to go. Having read, the writer Tom McGain and Jimmy Buffett when they were back in the early '70s in their creative years, doing all sorts of kind of fun things, or at least it sounded like it. So it was on my list, and Jennifer and I took the boys last year, and we flew into Fort Lauderdale. We got a car and we drove out there. We got to Key West. We had a good time. It was fun. But as is usual for our family, at the end of a trip, we usually go around and ask everybody, what did you enjoy the most? And what everybody agreed on was we all enjoyed the journey out there. It was the drive out to the Keys. We stopped a lot of places, had lunch at this cool spot where we watch pelicans jump in the water and get their lunch, and we stopped at some state parks. Blake and I played catch in the water. And so we had a really good time, but it was a reminder to me as I kind of look at this eagle that it's not just about being here with Eagle, but it's about his journey and some of the things that he's done along the way that are really memorable to me. And I thought maybe I'd share just a couple. I remember, Blake had been to summer camp, and it was about, I think, the following spring before he actually did a weekend camp out with the troop. And I didn't grow up in scouting. I was very naive, so I didn't even realize that you were supposed to go to a planning meeting the Monday before at the scout hut. So we, Special K and I said we couldn't get up there Friday to get him, so we'll just take him Saturday the next day. Well, this was a backpacking camp out. Kev and I showed up with a cooler that we had wheels on, we rolled out. I packed a duffel bag. We each had a handle carrying this thing. I brought a guitar. We brought fishing rods. Like, this wasn't the backpacking camp out that I've learned the scouts do, where they pack everything in a backpack and that's your supplies for the weekend. And we packed that thing in probably a good mile, and we got there and nobody showed up. Like, you could see where their tents were, but they were like out in the woods. Like, these little frontiersmen are hanging out in the woods somewhere. We were there for probably 3 hours, and I brought a 6-man tent. A 6-man tent. And so, these guys came out of the woods and they looked at all the stuff we brought, including hummus. Has anybody ever brought hummus on a backpacking camp out? Kev and I did. We had full bags of chips. But anyways, it was like everything in scouting, a learning moment for the dads and the boys. And Blake went to a lot of other campouts, and he kind of went through a stretch, where he was going to campouts every weekend. And I guess the second story I'll lead with is, I grew up in Colorado, and we had a cabin at one point up in Breckenridge. And if any of you have been to Breckenridge in the winter, you'll know it's a very cold mountain. The wind, the way it comes through that valley there, it's just cold. And certain nights of the year, kind of special nights, like New Year's and President's Weekend, at night, the ski patrol would all come down the mountain, each of them holding a flare, and they would, ski in an S pattern, and everybody could, watch from their windows. And I just remember as a little kid looking up there going, who would want to be out on a mountain at this time of night when it's so cold? Like, it's cold enough during the day, but you're doing this at night. Fast forward about 40 years. I'll tell you who else likes to be out on a mountain at night. These savages at Troop 266. They take a camping trip every year up to North Carolina, and they go skiing. And they camp outside. And Blake told me about 4 years ago that he was going to go on the ski camp out. And I said, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And I said, well, we're going to Colorado the following weekend. Like, you're going to get skiing in. And he's like, I know, but I can practice for that trip, so I'd like to go. So I said, all right, you're on your own. But he put all his supplies together, including a new tent that he just bought with some money he got for his birthday. And as I dropped him off, the weather forecast was just terrible. And the dads that were going were talking about it. It's looking a little dicey. They got a storm moving in. And so they got up there, and I was watching the weather, and it was terrible. Like, I could tell that the conditions were bad. And I was thinking about him just sitting out in this little tent that we don't even know if he knew how to set up yet. And I didn't sleep all night. I literally was up all night. I was going from bedroom to bedroom trying to get myself to go to sleep. I finally fell asleep at about 6 o'clock in the morning. And at 7:19, my phone rang. And it was Blake, proof of life. And he said, Dad, he was trying to act all chipper. I said, Bud, I've been thinking about you all night. He goes, oh, Dad, it was unbelievable. He said, the weather was terrible. And I said, like, how bad? He's like, oh, Dad, like, so bad that we finally had to move inside the shelter. And my wife's been in the news business, as most of you know. And there's a thing that they teach in journalism school called burying the lead. Sometimes people think the story's over here when the real story's over here. Well, it was about this time that I realized Blake had been burying the lead. I said, well, how was your new tent? He goes, oh, it's gone. And I said, you remember what I said?
Can't say it here.
You gotta be kidding me. He says I used a different word than kidding, but I don't recall. He's like, no, Dad, it blew away. And I was like, wow, how does that even happen? Like, you didn't think to like take it and say, anyways. The conversation lasted 3 minutes. And I went back and looked at my phone because I was just scratching my head like, did you really just tell me all that? And they were on their way to skiing for the day. They weren't done. They were undeterred. So they skied that day, and about 5 o'clock I got a phone call. And it was Blake again. He said, Dad, he said, the adults have decided we're gonna head back tonight. We're not doing a second night. I thought, wise, you know, probably a good idea. And he said, but I got another thing to tell you. He goes, I asked if we could go back and try and look for that tent again. And he said, we found it. He said, I recovered it. And there's a picture inside. Jennifer's got a picture of it. They found it up on this ridge, stuck in a bunch of trees, and he pulled that tent out, and he saved the thing. And Bo just used it in August for a camp out. We still have that tent. We still use that tent. And I don't want to make too much of it, but it was kind of one of those moments where you're just like, wow, you know, they're going to find their way. And as part of his project that he did was to raise, as George said, baseball equipment for a team that didn't have a whole lot of resources up in Kentucky. And somebody that took notice of his project and was alerted to it was Adam Duvall with the Atlanta Braves. And he wrote Blake a card, which I think is inside, you can read as well. And he said, Blake, it's people like you that change the world. And I believe that. Thanks for letting me be a part of your journey. I'll give you a hug now.
I was on that camp out. I don't think I was the camp master, but I was definitely on that one. And we found my son's tent in the river after skiing too. Blake wasn't the only one. I think we went looking for yours and found it. Great stories. Thank you for sharing. At this point, I would like to read the Eagles challenge and obligation. I'll try to read it loud enough for Bob in the back row. Boy Scouts of all nations constitute one of the most wholesome and significant influences in the world's history. You have been declared worthy of the high rank of Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts of America. All who know you rejoice in your achievement. Your position, as you well know, is one of honor and responsibility. You're a marked man. As an Eagle Scout, you're expected to exemplify in your daily life the high principles and values expressed in the Scout Oath and the Scout Law. You have assumed a solemn obligation to do your duty to God, your country, your fellow Scouts, and all other human beings. The Eagle rank represents proficiency in all scouting skills and is attained by only 2% of all young men in scouting. It represents a great deal of teamwork as a member and leader of a troop. And I'll just say on an aside, you mentioned some of the leadership that Blake has given to this troop, and each scout is different, but I'll say that Blake is a leader, and he's proven that. I think there's very few times that we have elections when Blake isn't elected to some position. So I appreciate all that leadership you've provided us over the years. It represents years of hard work, strength of character, and persistence. The Eagle rank testifies that a scout understands his community and his nation, and a willingness to become involved. It is also fitting at this time to explain that not only does this badge signify his hard work, it also represents certain obligations on his part. The first obligation of an Eagle Scout is honor. The white of the Eagle Badge represents honor, and it is the sacred foundation of his character. Character is not what you think about yourself, but what you are deep inside. It is what you do to reflect credit upon your home, family, school, friends, faith, and yourself. Always let the white of the Eagle Badge remind you of honor. The second obligation of the Eagle Scout is loyalty. The blue in the Eagle Badge represents loyalty, for without it, your character lacks direction. Regardless of how rough the road, how difficult the task, or how impossible the situation, you must remain loyal to your cause and purpose. It is the sense of belonging, being part of a team, and working together with others. It is standing by your work, your promises, and your pledges. It is also the feeling you give others, knowing that they can count on you. Let the blue of this badge remind you to remain loyal. The third obligation of an Eagle Scout is courage. The red in the Eagle Badge represents courage. It gives your character force and strength. If you have faith in your beliefs and your fellow man, you can face each day unafraid and strive to share in the work at hand. You should do your part in all things, regardless of danger, adversity, or hardship. Let the red of the badge remind you of courage. The fourth obligation is responsibility. It is represented by the Scout motto, be prepared. It means that you are always in a state of readiness, both in mind and body, so that you'll be able to face danger and help others to the best of your ability. It also means that you've been trained for emergencies and you are confident in your ability to do your duty as an Eagle Scout. The fifth obligation is that of service. This obligation is represented by the eagle. You must extend a helping hand to those who still toil up the scouting trail, just as others helped you achieve your goal. It means that the daily good turn must continue. You must strive to protect the weak and defend the helpless. The final obligation is vision. As a leader, you must now blaze your own trail. Just as the bald eagle, soaring high above the ground, can look far into the distance, so too the Eagle Scout must look far into the future. Many people will follow him. Only with vision will he lead in the right direction. The silver eagle, hanging from his badge, reminds the Eagle Scout of vision. The eagle also indicates that you are now an elite member of an esteemed group of world citizens. With this honor comes the knowledge that any discredit that falls upon you also befalls your fellow Eagle Scouts. Remember your obligations of honor, loyalty, courage, responsibility, service, and vision. Our heartfelt congratulations from Troop 266 on this very, very special occasion, and our sincere hope that you will always wear your Eagle Badge with dignity and pride. At this point, the Eagle Scout will now take the Eagle Scout Pledge. Will those Eagle Scouts who are present in the audience please stand and reaffirm their pledge? Will each of you please give the Scout sign and repeat after me in unison. On my honor.
On my honor.
I reaffirm my allegiance.
I reaffirm my allegiance.
To the three promises of the Scout Oath.
To the three promises of the Scout Oath.
I thoughtfully recognize.
I thoughtfully recognize.
And take upon myself.
And take upon myself.
The obligations and responsibilities.
The obligations and responsibilities.
Of an Eagle Scout.
Of an Eagle Scout.
On my honor, I will do my best.
On my honor, I will do my best.
To make my training an example.
To make my training an example.
Make rank and influence.
May the rank of influence
count for better scouting
count for better scouting
and for better citizenship
and for better citizenship.
in my troop,
In my troop,
in my community,
in my community,
and in my contact with other people.
and in my contact with other people.
To this I pledge my sacred honor.
And to this I pledge my sacred honor.
Eagle Scouts in the audience, you may be seated. Blake, by repeating the Eagle Scout pledge before your fellow members, you have become an Eagle Scout. When you pledged yourself on your sacred honor, using the same words which are found at the end of the Declaration of Independence, you sealed your eternal loyalty to the code of the Eagle Scout. By the authority vested in me by the National Court of Honor of the Boy Scouts of America, it is my privilege and pleasure to pronounce you an Eagle Scout. May the oath you have taken remain true in your heart. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating Blake Betcher, Eagle Scout. At this time, I would like Blake's mom, dad, and brother to join me up front for the presentation of the award. Blake, nobody gets here without the support of their family. And you know well how much your parents have meant over the years helping you achieve the goal of Eagle Scout. This time I would like for your mom to pin the Eagle badge on your uniform. Right. Blake, to thank your mom for all those times that she made sure you were prepared for camping trips. Please present her with the Eagle Mom's pin. Your father, as you can tell, has been a source of support as well, worrying about you on those nights when you were freezing with us. He was warm in his house, but he was worried at least. Please present your father with an Eagle Dad pin.
It was the tent's fault.
And I'm going to let him just present. I was supposed to let you present him with his Eagle Scout certificate.
All right, Blake James Betcher, you are an Eagle Scout.
Or is that on a timer then? So it's like taking a picture every.
We'll edit it. Video.
Oh,
We're good.
okay. And last but not least, come here, young one. Bo, why don't you present your brother with the gift from our troop, Eagle Scout belt buckle. All right, let's have a round of applause. Now, Blake will share the Eagles' response.
Real quickly, I'd like to thank a couple people. I would really like to appreciate everyone coming out and supporting me. Really thankful. I would like to thank Mr. Madden for all of your help throughout the years. Long 5 years, but I appreciate you always being there for me and be able to help out with whatever I need. Been a great leader, and I really appreciate you having me. I'm thankful for Mr. Stovall. Although he left early on in my years, he was still a full hand and helped me out with some of my Scoutmaster conferences, and really showed me what it means to be a leader. Mr. Roundtree, Mr. Frame, Mr. Trigo, thank you for also helping me reach the rank of Eagle, helping me to get here, lending a supporting role, and making sure that I stay on behavior, have good behavior, and know what I'm doing. And then James, of course. James, thank you for all the years of leadership you've offered me, the role modeling. I really appreciate you. While he was around, he was the backbone of the troop, and he really made sure that we got everything we needed to get done, and really a great guy. Appreciate you. before I start talking, I would like to say that my dad insisted on not reading my speech this morning, so he decided to steal both of my stories. So I was kind of listening to that going, I was going to talk about that. So guess what? We get to wing it a little bit, right? So I'll wing a little bit, but really
That's why you weren't smiling when I was talking.
What? Yeah, I was like, ooh. But I like to emphasize what he did say about that first camp out. We were really lost. I totally remember him carrying a guitar, and the response on that, I think everyone was kind of scratching their heads, wondering why he decided to do that. We were outfitted with snacks. It was pretty good. I think that was probably the best eating I ever had on a camp out. So that's a win, I think. So I'll just share a couple stories. You know, starting out with Scouts, I wasn't really prepared for the role. I remember one of my first camp outs was James Mikely's lake house. We went to his lake house on one of the last days of summer, and we were cooking one morning, cooking eggs. I was responsible for it. I was the grub master. And before that, we were cooking bacon. And it wasn't like the microwave, pre-microwave bacon. It was, you know, the real stuff. So really greasy, you know, grease everywhere. And after that, I didn't know how to cook eggs at the time, scrambled eggs. Basic thing, still had no idea how to do it. So I asked Avery, I said, Avery, you mind scrambling some eggs for me? And he goes, sure. We had to take off the grill before, so we were setting it back up again. Forgot about that grease, so we set a fire up in the outside on picnic benches, and Mr. Madden's older son Kessler, in a panic, saw that there was a giant grease fire with propane gas also leaking at the same time, and took it out, swatted it away, got it off, and luckily the house did not burn down. No one was harmed. I think we did burn a lot of plastic plates that might have melted on the picnic table. It's probably still there, but that's a fun memory. I think that's probably the first time I escaped death as a scout. Another one of my favorite memories was going to scout camp my second year. I wanted to do a lot of merit badges. I heard one. I was like, let's try it. Small boat sailing. It was an afternoon class, and this was the first week of camp, so they weren't really prepared for us. We get out there, and he goes, guys, we gotta go quick. We're gonna be out in the lake in 5 minutes. The winds are great today. So he gave us a 2-minute tutorial maybe on how to pioneer these boats. We set them up, and me and another scout from another troop were on our way. We had zero clue how to control that boat. It was absolute sheer panic. Running around, he was in charge of the spinning flag, making sure that it caught the wind. I was in charge of the rudder in the back. Don't know if it was very helpful, but I played my part, I believe. It was extremely chaotic, but I got a lot of good experience out of that, and it's one of my favorite memories in scouting. I'm sure that me and him probably said a lot of words that I can't repeat here today, but that's what happens when you are really panicked. I remember later on, we did it the second day, and Bo was out canoeing with some of his friends, and Bo was close to one of the sailboats and goes, guys, you need to watch out for us. We simply said, we had zero control of this thing, so you watch out for us, okay? Because we are flying an active weapon, so that was super fun. So now we get to the speech that I did prepare myself. So scouting has offered me so many opportunities throughout the last 5 years. Leadership chances, the new friendships. I learned so much, and I would not give it up for anything. From backpacking in complete darkness, camping in 30-degree weather while there's a downpour, and me and Avery, once again, almost setting that house on fire. I look back over these 5 years, and I'm just extremely thankful for all of the opportunities I've been given. I'd like to end off today while saying this, a message to the younger scouts especially, and those especially who do not want to finish their Eagle project, those who think that, you know, maybe I'm done and maybe I won't go all the way. I donated baseball equipment to a local high school up in Kentucky, and really nice project, had a lot of fun with it. The coach of the team reached out to me a couple weeks later after I donated the equipment. They said this: you put a smile on some faces that we don't get to see smile very often. Thank you. These boys were practicing in school clothes until the day we handed them the gear you donated. So I give you a challenge today, to push yourself just a little more, make new connections, think about how you can make a difference. Give scouting another chance and you won't regret it. Thank you.
I realized I maybe should have introduced myself earlier. My name is Jonathan Sanders. I'm one of the youth pastors here at the church. It's been awesome getting to know Blake for the last year and a half or so. So would we pray with me again, please? God, we thank you for this beautiful weather, this awesome chance to celebrate Blake today. May we be inspired by his leadership and his joy, and may we carry it with us going forward. God, I thank you for the meal we will eat later. May it bless us and nourish our bodies. We ask all of this in your name. Amen.